When children first learn to speak, what is usually their first word? It might be mama, mamai, dada, dada, papai, papa. Those might be one of the first two, but regardless of what comes next, no is a very important part of their vocabulary. When you tell them they have to eat, what do they say? No. When you tell a child they have to go to bed, what do they say? No. When you tell them they have to do something, what do they say? No. And it's not a word that they easily forget, because as they grow older, they continue to say no, don't they? Whether they say it or not, that's often one of their actions. When you ask them to do something, that's forever to do it. Because children are young and they think there's always forever for all things. And as children of God, often we take that attitude too. I haven't met anyone that doesn't want to go to heaven. I presume there's no one here or there, through the media, at home, who don't want to go to heaven, but we don't always want to be prepared for it as we should. And in the first reading, we hear Isaiah speaking, and the people were in exile, and the Lord, through Isaiah, is telling them, if you follow my commandments, if you follow my commands, you will have more than you could ever desire, more descendants, although I don't know, maybe people don't want a whole lot of kids, but we need to work on that. All of that they would need, more than the sands on the beaches they would receive. But the people in exile didn't want to always obey God. We know that often they rebelled against him. But if we follow the light, the law, then we will receive all that we have. Our verse is, those who follow you, Lord, will have the light of life. The light of life is not just a good life here on earth. The light of life is light eternal, is life eternal. And that is what we remember as we celebrate the season of Advent. The season of Advent is a season of preparation, when we prepare for the coming of our Savior. Not just in history, because Jesus was born over 2,000 years ago. We need to prepare a place for him here in our hearts. I remember growing up, we prepared a place for the visitors who were coming at home when, during the season of Advent, Mom would get my sister and I, my brother lucked out because he's 12 years younger than me, so he didn't have to do all the stuff that we did. But we'd take out the butcher's wax. Does anyone remember butcher's wax? I don't even know if they make it anymore. I know they make Murphy's oil soap. We got out the butcher's wax, the Murphy's oil soap, and did all the baseboards, the wood floors. Everything had to shine, like the temple. And then we took down all the tchotchkes, you know what those are, knickknacks, out of the shadow boxes, and put them all in the sink with soapy water and washed and cleaned. Everything had to shine. And it wasn't just for the company. It was because it was winter cleaning or fall cleaning. But the house had to shine because celebration was coming, and we were celebrating Christmas. What is it that we do here inside? Our heart doesn't need butcher's wax or Murphy oil soap. What it needs is confession, isn't it? It needs the sacraments of reconciliation. It needs peace. It needs understanding. It needs joy. Things that are so difficult nowadays, getting more difficult. But Jesus tells us, he gives us two sides of the same coin. Both were criticized. John spent a life in the desert. John the Baptist went into the desert and they called him crazy. He's possessed by a demon because he doesn't eat, he doesn't drink. He just prays and baptizes. He does what is necessary for the people to have faith. Jesus, on the other hand, was a party animal. Not really. But he went into the homes of sinners. He went and he ate with them. He drank with them. And they called him a glutton and a drunkard. But We know because Jesus tells us that wisdom is vindicated by her actions. And so the actions of John are vindicated by him devoting his life to God, to God's law, to God's commandments. He never gave up preaching against sin. And because of that, he lost his life by being beheaded, because he spoke out against the wrong people. Jesus was not crucified because he ate with sinners, with glutton, not because he was a drunkard or a glutton, but because he spoke the truth to law. He spoke the truth to leaders. He spoke the truth to sinners. He spoke a truth to those who didn't want to hear it. We need to be messengers of prayer and peace and truth. And our message has to be rooted in the gospel. It has to be rooted in that which God so desires, for his poor to have a better life, for his children to live the truth, for his children to live embracing one another, not turning away from them or ignoring them or putting them down, but by loving. The gospel of truth, the gospel of light, boils down to one word, and that is love. Jesus came into the world to show us his love. There are many saints, there are many sinners. The saints give us the example of their lives by having been imprisoned, by being put to death. And so we look to those who are models and examples of us, of a better life, of a life of light, of a life of truth. We ask the Lord to come into our hearts through the sacraments, through reconciliation, that we may know his peace, know his love, and share that with our brothers and sisters.